Let me describe something to you, and I want you to be honest with yourself about whether you have ever felt it. You are sitting in your own kitchen, an ordinary evening, nothing special about the day at all, and out of nowhere your throat goes strange, not painful exactly, just wrong. A tightness, a fullness, a feeling like there is something sitting there that should not be. Like you need to swallow and clear it, and yet there is nothing to clear. And so you swallow, and you sip your water, and you wait, and after a minute or two it loosens and settles and fades away as quietly as it came, and you go back to your evening, and you tell yourself it was nothing. A bit of acid maybe, a swallow that went down wrong, your nerves, and here is the part one already know about you, because I have sat across from so many people who have lived exactly this moment. You did not call anyone, you did not write it down, you filed it away in the back of your mind under the word nothing, and you moved on. And most of the time, I want to say this to you right at the very start so you can breathe a little easier. Most of the time, that throat feeling really is nothing dangerous at all. It is one of the most common sensations human beings come to a doctor worried about, and the honest answer, far more often than not, is that it is harmless. So I am not here to make you afraid of your own throat. I promise you that. But I am here to tell you something that almost nobody slows down long enough to explain, which is that right beside that throat of yours, just under the skin on either side of your neck, run two of the most important blood vessels in your entire body, and they are the quietest, most patient, most dangerous liars you will ever carry. They can be in real trouble for years and give you almost nothing to go on until the day they decide to speak all at once. I am Dr. Bauer, and I am not here to scare you. I am here to do the one thing I always wished I had more minutes to do back when the schedule was full and the clock on the wall never stopped moving, which is to slow this whole thing down, sit with you properly, and explain in plain words what your own body might be trying to tell you. Because there is a kind of warning that comes from the neck and from the brain that the neck feeds that is so brief and so strange and so easy to wave away that the great majority of people who feel it do exactly what you did with that throat feeling. They call it nothing. They wait. And the waiting is the part that costs them because of all the things in medicine where the early minutes change everything. This is near the very top of the list. So here's my promise to you for the time we are going to spend together, because I can already hear the question forming in the back of your mind, which is, all right, so how am I supposed to tell the difference? We are going to get there, you have my word on it, but I am not going to rush you, because rushing this is the exact reason it gets missed in the first place. So first, I am going to walk you slowly through what is actually happening in that neck of yours, the real picture, the one that almost nobody draws for you. Then I am going to teach you to tell the throat feeling that means nothing apart from the body signal, that means everything, the one that hides so well precisely because it comes and then it goes and leaves you feeling fine. And once you can see it clearly, I am going to hand you exactly what to do, the precise words to say, the check to ask for by its name, so you cannot be brushed aside, and the simple things you can begin this very week that cost you nothing and can give you back years. So stay with me all the way through, because the single most important sentence in this whole conversation is waiting for you near the end, and I would hate for you to be the one who clicks away just before it. And one more thing before we begin in earnest, because I do not want a single piece of what I am about to give you to slip away the moment this video ends. I have taken the whole of it, the warning signs, the exact words to say, the one quiet check to ask for, and the short list of who carries the real risk. And I have laid it all out on a single plain page for you to keep. If you look at your screen, you will see a small square code sitting there, and if you scan the code on your screen, that page is yours. Free, with nothing asked of you in return. Keep it by your kitchen table, or fold it into your wallet, and follow along with it in your hand as we go. Let me tell you about a woman I am going to call Eleanor, because once you have met her, I think you are going to recognize her, and you might even recognize a little of yourself. Eleanor was 74, a retired school teacher, the sort of woman who had spent 40 years being the calmest, most capable person in any room she walked into. She raised 3 children, buried a husband, ran the whole church bake sale single-handed for 2 decades, and she was not, by any honest measure, a worrier. So when her throat started doing that strange tightening thing in the evenings, on and off, here and gone, she did what a calm and capable woman does. She paid it no real mind. And the one time she did mention it almost in passing, at the end of an appointment about something else entirely, she watched the answer arrive before the words even did. A kind enough nod. A gentle suggestion that it was probably just a touch of reflux or perhaps a little anxiety, very common at her age. And Eleanor, being Eleanor, felt slightly foolish for having brought it up at all, and she did not bring it up again. Now I want you to notice what happened there, because you may have lived the exact same moment yourself. Eleanor was not lied to. She was not treated badly. The person across from her was doing their honest best in the 8 or 9 minutes the system allowed them. And the truth is, the odds were genuinely on their side, because that throat feeling taken all by itself usually is reflux or a dry swallow or the body simply being a body. But here is what nobody had the time to do. Nobody turned their attention a few inches to the side of that throat, to the neck, and asked the second question, the one that costs only a minute, which is, all right, and what about the pipes running right next to it? And so Eleanor went home reassured, and the throat feeling came and went a few more times over the following weeks, and she kept right on filing it under nothing, exactly the way she had been quietly taught to. Here's what Eleanor did not know, and what almost nobody bothers to explain, and it is the thing that changes the entire picture. On each side of your neck, you have a large artery called the carotid. You can feel it if you press 2 gentle fingers to the side of your neck right now, just below the jaw. Go ahead, press there softly, and feel your pulse answer back. That steady beat under your fingers is blood on its way up into your brain. Both of those arteries, one on the left, one on the right, are the main roads carrying blood and oxygen up to the brain that runs your whole life. Your words, your balance, your memory, your face, your hands. And here is the cruel part. Those arteries are built from the very same material as the arteries that feed your heart. They stiffen the same way, they narrow the same way, and over the years, slowly, silently, with no pain and no announcement at all, they can clog the very same way, a little fatty buildup creeping along the inside wall, year after year, until the road that feeds your brain is a good deal narrower than it used to be. And the worst, most maddening thing about this particular trouble is the silence of it. This is not a disease that knocks politely on the door and announces itself. For most people who have it, there is no pain in the neck, no warning ache, nothing you could point to and say, there, that is where it hurts. The buildup just sits there, narrowing the road quietly for years on end, while the person carrying it feels perfectly fine and goes on about their life with no idea anything is happening at all. And that is exactly why the medical pages that study this, the American Heart Association, the big hospital centers like Johns Hopkins and Penn, all use the same kind of language when they describe it. They call it a condition that very often gives no symptoms at all until the day it gives you a very large one. Which means the people walking around with the most narrowed arteries are very often the people with the least idea, right up until the moment their own body finally forces the issue. And I want you to sit with how strange that really is, because we are not used to thinking about our bodies this way. We are taught from the time we are children that pain is the alarm bell, that if something is truly wrong, it will hurt, and that as long as nothing hurts, we must be all right. And for a great many things in life, that rule holds true. But these arteries break that rule, and they break it completely. A narrowing that could change the entire course of your life can sit there utterly painless, giving you nothing, asking nothing for a decade or more. There is no ache that grows as the road narrows. There is no soreness that warns you the buildup has reached the halfway mark. The narrowing and the silence go hand in hand, right up until that piece breaks loose. And that is precisely what makes it so dangerous and so easy to ignore. The very absence of pain becomes its disguise. So when I ask you, a little later, to respect a warning that comes and then vanishes, understand that I am asking you to do something genuinely hard, something that goes against everything your body has trained you to believe, which is to take seriously a thing that does not hurt. So let me draw you the rest of the picture, the part that connects back to Eleanor and back to you. Because while that buildup is sitting there narrowing the artery, 2 things can eventually happen, and you need to understand both of them. The first is simply that the road gets so narrow that not enough blood can get up to the brain, the way a kinked garden hose lets through only a trickle. And the second, the one that frightens the doctors the most, is that a little piece of that buildup can break loose, a fragment, a crumb of it, and ride the bloodstream up into the brain and lodge in a smaller vessel and block it off completely. And when blood stops reaching a patch of the brain, even for a few minutes, that patch of brain starts to go quiet. It stops doing its job. And depending on which patch it is, that is where the strange and sudden symptoms come from. The ones I am going to teach you to recognize. The ones that are the entire reason I sat you down for this. But before I show you those signs, I have to tell you something about how they arrive, because this is the trap. This is the exact place where the smart and capable people slip. When a small piece breaks loose and blocks a vessel only briefly, and then the body manages to clear it and the blood comes rushing back in, the symptoms it caused can vanish. The face that drooped goes back to normal. The arm that felt heavy feels fine again. The words that came out tangled come out smooth. And the whole frightening episode can be over in a minute, or 5 or 20, leaving the person standing there feeling completely recovered and more than a little embarrassed, thinking, well, whatever that was, it is past now, so it must not have been serious. And that, I am telling you, is the single most dangerous conclusion a human being can reach, because the body just handed them the clearest warning it is capable of giving. And the brevity of it, the very fact that it passed, is what fools them into throwing it away. That brief episode has a name. The doctors call it a transient ischemic attack, and you may have heard the older nickname for it, a mini stroke. And I want to be very careful with you here, because that nickname does real harm. The word mini makes it sound small. It makes it sound like a lesser thing, a near miss you can be grateful for and then forget. But there is nothing mini about what it is telling you. A transient attack like that is not the storm. It is the sky going dark and the wind picking up before the storm. It is the one and only courtesy your body may ever extend to you, a full dress rehearsal of a stroke that then mercifully lifts. And what the people who study this have found, again and again, is sobering, and I am going to share it with you in a moment, because the numbers behind those few strange minutes are the reason I could not let this video be a quick clip. They are the reason I needed you here, sitting with me for the long version. So let me start showing you the signs themselves. The real ones. The ones that should make you set down whatever is in your hand and pay close attention. And I want you to hold them up against that throat feeling we started with, because the contrast is the whole lesson. The throat feeling is slow, it lingers, it is more of a nagging companion than a sudden event, and it usually comes with no other changes anywhere else in your body. The signs I am about to give you are the opposite. They are sudden. They arrive out of a clear blue sky, and they touch the things the brain controls. The first sign is a sudden weakness or numbness that shows up on one side, and that detail matters more than almost anything else I will tell you today, so hold on to it. An arm that suddenly goes heavy or clumsy or strangely far away, as though it belongs to someone else and you are only borrowing it. A hand that will not grip the coffee cup the way it always has and nearly lets it go. A leg on one side that buckles or drags or feels like it has gone to sleep without the pins and needles. People describe it later in such plain and human ways. They say the arm felt dead. They say it felt heavy. They say it felt like it wasn't mine. And the reason the one-sided part matters so much is this. A whole body feeling weak and tired can be 100 ordinary things. A poor night of sleep, a skipped meal, a hard week. But weakness that picks one side of your body and leaves the other side perfectly fine, that is the brain telling you that one specific patch of it, the patch that runs that one side, has lost its blood supply. The body does not draw a line down the middle of itself for no reason. When it does, you listen. The second sign lives in the face, and it is the one that other people often see before you feel it yourself. A sudden droop, usually to one side, the corner of the mouth pulling down, one eyelid going heavy, a smile that comes out crooked and lopsided when it has been even and easy your whole life. People notice it in the mirror and think they are tired. Their spouse notices it across the table and thinks the light is playing tricks. But a face that suddenly hangs unevenly on one side, that appeared out of nowhere and was not there an hour ago, is your brain telling you the same story the arm was telling you, that a patch of it has gone dark, and it happens to be the patch that holds your face up. The third sign is in the speech, and it is one of the most unsettling to live through by every account I have ever heard. The word "stop cooperating." Not because you have forgotten what you want to say, You know exactly what you want to say. You can see the sentence whole and clear in your mind, but the mouth will not deliver it. It comes out slurred, as though you have had a drink you never touched. Or it comes out scrambled, the wrong words arriving in the right places, calling the spoon a fork, calling your daughter by your sister's name, or the words simply will not come at all, and you stand there reaching for a perfectly ordinary word that is gone and hidden somewhere you cannot find it. People who have lived through it describe a particular kind of fear that I think is worse than pain, the fear of being fully present and fully aware inside your own head, while the bridge between your thoughts and your mouth has quietly washed out. Now I have to make you wait just for one breath, right here at the edge of the most important part, because I have given you 3 of the signs, and there are more. And beyond the signs, there is the thing I most need you to carry out of this conversation, which is exactly what to do in the moment you see them, the words to say, the check to ask for, the difference between a story that ends well and one that does not. And there is one more thing too, a number, a single figure about those few strange minutes that I promised you, and when you hear it, I think you will finally understand why I have been so insistent, so unwilling to let this be quick. So whatever you do, stay with me, because we are coming now to the part that matters most of all. So let me give you the rest of the signs, and then I am going to give you the number, and then I am going to give you the part that actually saves lives, which is what you do about all of it. The 4th sign is a sudden trouble with the eyes, and it is one people almost never connect to the brain because they assume anything wrong with their sight must be a problem with the eye itself. But a sudden loss of vision in one eye, a curtain or a shade coming down over half of what you can see, or a sudden doubling of the world, 2 of everything where there had only ever been 1, that can come from the very same source, a patch of the brain or the artery feeding the eye losing its blood for a while. It arrives suddenly, and like the others, it can lift and leave you seeing perfectly well again and tempt you to forget it ever happened. The 5th sign is a sudden trouble with balance, a dizziness that is not your ordinary dizziness, a sense that the room has tilted or the floor has gone soft, a clumsiness in the legs that has you reaching for the wall, walking, as people so often put it, like a person who has had far too much to drink when not a drop has passed your lips. And the 6th, which can come alone or alongside the others, is a sudden and severe headache, unlike any you have had before. Not your familiar tension headache, not your usual ache, but a thunderclap, a worst in your life sort of pain that announces itself all at once. Now here is how you carry all of that, because 6 signs is a lot to hold, and your body did not give them to you as a tidy list. The people who study strokes built a small word to help you remember, and I want to give it to you. Because in the moment that matters, you will not have time to recall a lecture. You will need something simple. The word is fast. F for the face. Is it drooping on one side? For the arms. Can the person raise both and hold them, or does one drift down? S for speech. Is it slurred or strange or scrambled? And T, the most important letter of all. T for time. Because time is the one thing this whole condition steals from you, and the one thing that used quickly can give you back nearly everything. And let me walk you through how you would actually use that word in your own kitchen on a real person, because knowing the letters and using them are 2 different things. Say you are sitting across from your husband, your wife, your brother, your friend, and something seems off about them. You cannot quite say what, but a feeling has come over you that something is wrong. Do not stand there and wonder. Run the word. First the face. You say, smile for me, go on, give me a big smile. And you watch whether both corners of the mouth lift together or whether one side stays slack and heavy and refuses to come up to meet the other. Then the arms. You say, raise both your arms for me, hold them up, palms to the ceiling, and close your eyes. And you watch for 10 full seconds whether they hold steady together or whether one of them drifts and sinks and drops away while the person has no idea it is even happening. Then the speech. You ask them to say a simple sentence back to you, anything. The sky is blue today. And you listen for the slur, the scramble, the words that arrive bent. And if any one of those 3 is wrong, even one, then you are on the last letter, the T, and the T means you are not waiting, you are not making coffee, you are not lying them down to rest, you are picking up the phone, and you are calling for emergency help that very minute. That is the whole tool. It takes less time to run than it took me to describe it, And it is the difference over and over again between the people who get to the hospital inside the window that matters and the people who arrive a day too late. And because I never want you reaching for that little word in the one moment you most need it, I have set the whole of the fast check, written out plainly, right at the top of that single page I told you about, the one waiting behind the code on your screen. If you have not done it yet, scan the code on your screen now while it is in front of you, and put that page somewhere the whole house can see it, on the refrigerator door or beside the telephone, because the person who runs this check may not be you at all. It may be the one who loves you on the day it counts. And now the number, the one I promised you, the one that is the entire reason I needed the long version of this and not a quick clip. When a person has one of those brief episodes, one of those transient attacks where the symptoms come and then mercifully go, the studies that follow those people find that a meaningful share of them, somewhere in the range of 1 in 7 to 1 in 10, go on to have a full and lasting stroke within the next 90 days. And here is the part that should make you sit up straight in your chair. The risk is not spread evenly across those 90 days. It is loaded right at the front. The highest danger sits in the first hours and the first 2 days after that brief episode passes, which means the very window when a person feels most recovered, most relieved, most certain that whatever it was has blown over and they need not make a fuss, is the exact window when the real danger is closest. The relief is the trap. The feeling fine is the trap. The body warned them, and then it lifted the warning, and the lifting is what convinced them to do nothing. So I want to say this as plainly as I am able. If you or anyone you love ever has one of those episodes, the sudden one-sided weakness, the drooping face, the tangled speech, the curtain over the eye, the drunk man's walk, even if it lasts only a minute, even if it passes completely and leaves the person standing there feeling perfectly fine and a little silly, that is not the moment to wait and see. That is not the moment to lie down and hope it does not come back. That is the moment to call for emergency help, to call 911, right then, while it is happening if you can, and even after it has passed. Because the people in that ambulance and at that hospital can do things in those early hours that they cannot do later. And because the brief episode that lifted on its own was very possibly the only warning you were ever going to get. You do not earn a second one by being brave and quiet. You spend your luck. Now I have to stop here and be completely honest with you, the whole truth, both halves of it, because I gave you my word at the start that I would not simply frighten you and keep you watching, so here is the other half. Not every strange throat feeling is any of this. Most of them, as I told you at the very beginning, are reflux, or a dry, nervous swallow, or the ordinary fullness of an ordinary body, and they have nothing to do with your arteries at all. And not every dizzy spell is a stroke, and not every headache is the thunderclap, and not every clumsy morning means your brain has lost its blood. If I sent you to bed tonight terrified of every twinge and every swallow, I would have done you a harm, not a kindness. So please hear the balance in this. The throat feeling on its own, slow and lingering and bringing no sudden one-sided change with it, is almost always harmless. What I am asking you to respect is the other thing, the sudden thing, the thing that touches one side of the body or the face or the speech and then tries to talk you out of it by going away. That is the one you never wave off. And here is the other piece of the honest truth, the piece that decides whether any of this is truly your concern, which is the question of who actually carries the real risk. Because this is not random, and the people who study it know the short list by heart, and I want you to count them on your own fingers as I go. If you smoke, or if you ever smoked, even years and years ago, raise a finger, because tobacco is hard on these arteries in particular. If you live with diabetes, that is another. High blood pressure, another. Cholesterol that runs high, another. If you have already had trouble in the arteries elsewhere, a heart problem, a bypass, poor circulation in the legs, that aching calf at the mailbox I have spoken about before, then the same process is very likely at work in the neck, because it is one body and one bloodstream, and the buildup does not respect borders. And simply being over 60 puts you on the board on its own. Now look down at your hand, count what you raised, because the more of those fingers you are holding up, the more that brief, strange episode, if it ever comes, deserves a real answer instead of a shrug, and the more that quiet neck of yours deserves to have someone actually listen to it. And that brings me to the thing I most wanted to give you, The close-kept little secret that is not a secret at all, the check. Because here is what almost nobody tells you. A doctor can listen to those arteries in your neck. With nothing more than the stethoscope already hanging around their shoulders, they can press it gently to the side of your neck and listen to the blood going by. And in a healthy, open artery, the blood runs smooth and quiet, the way a river runs silent when its channel is wide and clear. But in an artery that has narrowed, the blood has to rush and squeeze and force its way past the narrowing, and just like a river forced through a narrow gap starts to churn and roar, that squeezing blood makes a sound, a soft whooshing, a noise the doctors have a name for. They call it a bruit, and it is the audible signature of blood in a hurry through a road that has grown too tight. It takes about the length of one slow breath to listen for. It costs nothing. It does not hurt. You will not even feel the stethoscope. It is cool metal on your skin for a moment, and then it is done. And yet, in a rushed appointment with a dozen boxes to tick and the clock on the wall never stopping, it is one of the easiest things in the entire visit to skip, and so it very often is skipped, and the neck goes unlistened to, year after year, while everything else gets measured twice. Now I have to be careful and honest with you here, because I will not oversell you a thing, and a bruit is not a diagnosis all on its own. Sometimes the artery is narrowed and makes no sound. Sometimes the sound is there for reasons that turn out to be harmless. The whooshing is not a verdict, it is a clue, a reason to look closer, a door that opens onto the next careful step rather than a conclusion in itself. But a clue that costs 1 minute and a moment of someone's attention is exactly the kind of clue worth asking for, especially when the thing it points toward is as quiet and as serious as this. So here are the words, the exact ones, and I want you to take them with you and use them, because the right words said plainly are what stop you from being brushed aside. The next time you are in that office, you look at your doctor and you say, "Given my age and my history, I would like you to listen to the arteries in my neck today, and I want to know whether you hear a bruit." That is it. That is the whole sentence. You are not demanding a scan you may not need, and I want to be straight with you about that, because for a person with no symptoms at all, the experts do not recommend going hunting with ultrasound on everyone. It turns up false alarms that lead to more trouble than they prevent. What you are doing is far simpler and far wiser. You are asking the person with the stethoscope to spend the minute actually using it on the one part of you most likely to be quietly narrowing, and to tell you honestly what they hear. And if they do hear something, then and only then does the conversation move on to the next careful step, together with eyes open. That is not making a fuss. That is being the sharp, capable adult you have always been, taking an unhurried minute that the system was never going to hand you on its own. And there are the things you can begin this very week that cost you nothing, because the same habits that keep your heart's arteries open, keep your neck's arteries open too. They are cut from the same cloth, and they heal in the same direction. If you smoke, the single most powerful thing you will ever do for these particular arteries is to stop. And the benefit begins far sooner than most people believe. Move your body in the gentle, regular way it was built to move, the daily walk, nothing heroic. Eat in a way that is kinder to your blood, more of the plain green and living things, less of the salt and the fried and the heavily processed. Take the blood pressure pill and the cholesterol pill exactly as they were prescribed, if you have been given them, every day, not most days, because those quiet little pills are doing loud and important work on the very walls of these arteries while you forget you even took them. And keep the appointments you would rather skip. None of it is dramatic. All of it is the slow, unglamorous, deeply powerful work of keeping the road to your brain open. And I want you to notice that every last thing I have handed you today, the fast letters, the exact words for your doctor, the short list of who is truly at risk, and these few plain habits, all of it sits together on that one page behind the code on your screen. So if you take nothing else from our time today, scan the code on your screen, keep that page close, and pass it to the people you love. Because a warning this quiet was never meant to be carried in your memory alone. So let me bring this all the way back around to Eleanor, because I have left you wondering, and you deserve to know, Eleanor was one of the fortunate ones. And I will tell you plainly that fortune had more to do with it than anything she did, which is exactly why I do not want you leaning on fortune. One afternoon, Months after that throat feeling she had filed away as nothing, she was standing at her kitchen counter and her right hand simply stopped doing what she asked of it, the spoon clattering into the sink, and the side of her mouth went strange and heavy, and the word she reached for would not come. And it lasted perhaps 2 minutes, and then it lifted, and it left her standing there, frightened and embarrassed, and entirely ready to tell herself it had passed, and she would not trouble anyone. But her granddaughter was in the next room, and her granddaughter had, of all things, watched a video a little like this one. And she did not let her grandmother wait. She did not let her lie down. She called for help while Eleanor was still insisting she was fine. And because of those minutes, Eleanor is still here, still running the bake sale, still the calmest woman in any room. So here is the one sentence I most need you to carry out of this, the one I held for the end on purpose. The warning was never really the throat. The throat was only ever the doorway, the thing that got your attention so you would finally look at the neck beside it. The real warning, when it comes, is that single strange minute where one side of you goes wrong and then rights itself and quietly begs you to call it nothing. And the whole of what I have tried to give you today comes down to this. When that minute comes, you press 2 gentle fingers to the side of your own neck. You feel your pulse answer back. And you remember that the quiet road running under your fingers is worth 1 phone call made too soon, far more than 100 made too late. If anyone has ever made you feel foolish for asking a question about your own body, if you have ever walked out of an office feeling somehow smaller than when you walked in, then stay with me on this channel, because I am going to keep talking to you exactly like the sharp, capable adult you have always been, and I am going to keep handing you the quiet, unhurried minutes that the rest of the world is too rushed to give you. Press your fingers to your neck tonight and feel that steady beat, and promise me you will respect the strange minute if it ever comes. That promise, kept just once, is the whole reason I sat down with you today.